This certainly sounds like a sick game if it were brought into real life, but it does have the makings of a good horror film. Or horror thriller film, for our amusement, right? Watching characters go through very perilous situations, and we're just sitting back for the popcorn going, okay, keep going. Anyway, Follower. This actually sounds like a really good story. I mean, I don't know how well the film is known at this point. It's, I think, a smaller release. Came out a little earlier this year in March of 2022. It's from Smaller Town Productions. I'm not familiar with their company in terms of their productions. It's a shorter film, like only 62 minutes. But maybe it's good. I mean, Freestyle Digital Media is also involved. I've covered a couple of the projects in the past, I believe. Let's go ahead and take a look. For those of you who aren't as familiarized with Follower, maybe the ratings are a bit low, but it's only got like 186 reviews, but it's sitting at 3.2 out of 10. Maybe it just hasn't had enough viewers yet. Maybe it's not that good of a film. I haven't looked at it yet. First introduction. Maybe for you it's the same. Let's read a synopsis to get a bit of a perspective before going into watching the trailers together. A group of friends who recently graduated college embark on a backpacking trip to the woods to celebrate their impending futures and the end of an era for their friendship. As they make their way up the trail, they slowly begin to suspect that they are being followed by a mysterious individual who, unknown to them, is tracking their every move and uploading the video to a sinister forum where anonymous followers can dictate their fate. I think it's a very relatable story in regards to an audience. I mean, I think this might do well with the college crowd. I mean, younger people do tend to be pretty well invested in like college generation horror films, I think. It seems like a very enticing release in terms of an audience. Has a lot of potential, I would think, at least on the plot line. But the stalker storyline, I'm like, okay, you know, we've seen plenty of other films that have done the stalker type thing. I'm being followed by somebody, and oh no, you know, all hell's going to break loose. But the idea that someone's following them and is literally just tracking them at a distance with this game being played, I'm assuming like maybe on some sort of social media forum, maybe like I would say maybe Reddit adjacent. I don't know if they're gonna like it. Maybe it's a lower budget movie, I think. So I'm like, do they pay for the rights to use Reddit, or maybe they have some unique twist on it? But I'm sure it'll be recognizable in format. We've got people chiming in, offering suggestions on. I guess this is gonna kind of play out maybe as a who's gonna die horror film and how. Right? That could be creative. I mean, there are other films that have also played around with that that mystery element of like, well, you don't know, you know something bad's going to happen to the characters involved. You don't know how many characters might make it out alive. You don't know how many are going to die, right? There's a entertainment in the sick fates that are individuals. But it sounds, again, like an inviting pitch. Now, again, as I said, I know that maybe the film hasn't been reviewed the best. But let me go ahead and take a look at it first. Because, again, I haven't taken a look beyond just reading the synopsis and getting some preliminary information on the release. And maybe you're the same way. Maybe Follower just hasn't found its ideal audience yet, or in terms of maybe the ideal audience reach. I do like to look at smaller films on this channel and give recognizable attributions or talent to films I think deserve it. Let's see if I can give compliments to this film beyond just the pitch. I think the pitch is pretty good.
We're here, day one.
Day one of a 2-day trip.
Shh. Day one, me, my two best friends, off into the great unknown for our annual retreat. We're gonna get some sun, some nature, some distance from the city.
The energy of the delivery on some of the lines, it is like very college social media influencer esque. These are what I think of in terms of personalities I've seen or followed on social media.
What?
She got a DM, I see you.
From who?
Bit of a direct stalker introduction.
I'm here with Riley. Say hi, Riley. Hi, Riley. And
The gloves are an interesting touch.
they're really happy. You just can't tell.
Hey, how many hunting licenses did we give out this season?
20, I think.
Did we give out any, crossbow hunting licenses?
Oh,
That could have hit us.
Maybe that wasn't
well,
funny.
they paid for what resources they could. Because I'm like, I could probably find
My
that
friends have been hiking.
arrow at Walmart. Just had that appearance in the tail.
We'd like to report that somebody just shot at us.
You were shot at?
It's an interesting delivery.
He's recording us.
Well, it's definitely an intense horror film. What is he wearing? Okay. The lighting on my computer isn't the best, so I've got a touch screen, so it just doesn't come off as bright as I'd want it to best see that image. It looks like some sort of like animal mask. Or is it like I don't know what he's wearing. It actually looks kind of interesting. I mean, again, it's obviously got a lower budget feel. I mean, that's particularly obvious on the film quality, but I still think it's executed deceitfully well, where you would hope that other stalker thriller horror films. I think this falls along the line of other bigger budget productions. I mean, if you're watching this, obviously they picked a relatively inexpensive location to film. I mean, Forest is a very common location. But again, I think it fits the story pretty well. I mean, you worked with what you had. This is what you want to see in terms of lower budget pictures, at least from what I'm best judging according to the trailer. You want to see a studio use whatever means they have as best as they can and well manage those elements to make a competent picture. And some studios that produce lower budget pictures might unfortunately have a film that comes off as a bit lazy or cheap because again they're not necessarily managing their resources the most effectively. But here I feel like it feels effective. The acting fits the nature of like college students, seeing the effective utilization, in my opinion, of the social media components of the story, and that you're seeing how those clips appear, and then seeing in this example for the first shot really with interacting with that social media aspect, you're seeing it through the main stalker character. Again, the gloves are a really interesting touch, but bit glammy. But in my opinion, it looks effective in terms of its portrayal. I could see maybe the social media portrayal of the acting from these college girls maybe not being the best received. At first, I was kind of like, well, it's a bit bit over the top, but I felt that with the characters, it did kind of fit, at least in my opinion. But I could see some viewers being a bit turned off by the personalities, so I don't know. I haven't looked at the reviews deep enough to best understand what audiences are opining on based on its full film presentation. But I think as far as the trailer goes, there are advantage points to it that make it look like, at the very least, a promising release, or a picture that might have some issues. Maybe, again, it's not necessarily the best reviewed, and perhaps because it is a lower scale project, maybe not enough people know about it. Yes, there are obvious budgetary constraints. Again, that arrow looked a bit cheap, but you work with what you have. What are your guys' thoughts with Follower? Again, I think based on the pitch and some of what I'm seeing, there are points to it that I'm like, this looks good. But let me know your thoughts down below, whether you happen to be maybe someone who's viewed Follower, because I am covering this a bit late. Maybe, you have a thing to say about the trailer. Maybe you're like, yeah, this trailer was incredibly misleading in terms of maybe some of the advantage points I'm praising it for. Or maybe you're like me and this is a first impression. Let me know what angle you come from. Feel free to chime in on any of your opinions down below. I think it looks like a pretty good picture, at least from a trailer. There are advantage points that perhaps, again, maybe some of the disadvantages that I can even foresee being a part of the movie, maybe those advantage points overshadow. And right, film is subjective. I might have an opinion that perhaps the IMDb reviews might not best demonstrate. But I'm looking at it right now, and from what I can see, there are elements I think this project could fare pretty well. Maybe it's just not necessarily the best established yet, because it is a smaller picture. Maybe it just needs that wider audience. And I hope that if that's the main impression, or at the very least, I'm sure I'm sure the film will be grateful just to get a larger audience nonetheless, because it is a lower budget picture. And I do like to spotlight smaller and independent projects on this channel as much as I can. Hopefully, the film lives up to as much as I feel has been promised by both the storyline and the pitch, as well as, I think, a good trailer. A serviceable one. Let's see what happens. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.